Hi everyone. I'm Michael van Ormeek, or Van Hybrid, and I'm joined today by Sigi. Great to see you again, Sigi. We're here at the Thrive conference in Slovenia, a really interesting conference, and it's my first time, but you've been here before, Sigi. So what do you think of the conference this year?
Well, the conference is always a smaller conference, so but with a great lineup of speakers. A lot of MVPs are here, yeah, and that's your opportunity basically to see us, to ask us questions, yeah, to discuss with us, yeah, and it's amazing to be in Slovenia this week, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and I always appreciate it, especially comparing it to Ignite, where we've been a couple of weeks ago,
sure.
Yeah, which is a huge conference. I prefer the smaller ones. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I love the fact that it's kind of condensed, that you can have that personal interaction much more than at Ignite. I mean, it's a very different way of interacting. I love the fact that you can get, these one-on-one questions.
Absolutely.
Kind of like we had during Ask the Experts, right? Very small group. We've had Scott Schnoll, Martina, you, myself, a few other people in the panel, and really interactive discussions. And one of the questions that came up was, password spray attacks. How do you protect an on-premises environment based on ADFS, for instance, against password spray attacks? Now, before we dive into how to do that, is that something that you see with your customers as well?
Yes, absolutely. Most of my customers have ADFS, yeah, and they run into that problem in the past, so that everybody is trying to get a solution, but that's kind of hard, yeah. So what do you recommend to your customers, Michael?
Well, there is no single thing you can do to protect your on-premises environment against password spray attacks or just attacks in general, right? Taking in-house ADFS means taking on some responsibilities. Absolutely. And we know that Microsoft has been calling out a little bit, well, shouldn't you leave ADFS behind in favor of PTA or other solutions? But truth is that a lot of organizations use ADFS, and looking at what you can do to prevent these password attacks or password spray attacks is, first of all, enable MFA, right? It's a given that if you enable MFA, that even if they have a password that has been breached from elsewhere, they wouldn't be able to do much without doing the MFA. Now,
and the user would know it, yeah, immediately if somebody would try to break it in.
Oh, I agree. However, right, have you been affected by the MFA issues in the past few weeks?
Oh, yeah. I was affected because in my tenant, everybody is enabled for MFA. So, yeah, of course, on that Monday, it affected my work. Yeah, and not that much, but a bit. Yeah, and that's, of course, a little bit, it's preventing you from sending email or opening your SharePoint stuff, yeah. And if you're really depending on that, of course, that's a reason not to enable everybody, yeah, at that point. Well, most companies that I've seen were affected only because they enabled MFA, not for all the users, but for the admins. Yeah. So at that point, the admins were quite kind of locked out, but you can get around that, and if you have like one account that is not enabled, yeah, with a special password, of course. Yeah, but what about you? Were you affected? Do you use MFA?
Well, actually, I wasn't, because I do use MFA for a lot of my services, but I use conditional access very much, which means that if I'm logging in from specific locations and if I'm using my known registered device, they won't trigger MFA. So I'm also using Hello for Business. So I've already done my MFA without having to be challenged again, which didn't cause me to experience the issue in my normal work situation. If I would have been traveling, then I would have been prompted for MFA and I would have run into the same issue.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good recommendation to enable MFA only with conditional access. So you have locations where MFA is not enabled. So in the case of any failures, you can still log in and turn it off. Yeah. But let's talk about our sessions tomorrow, Michael. So,
good idea.
Yeah. So you have one session, correct?
Yes. So my session tomorrow is not about hybrid. Go figure. Well, it is kind of, but different.
You left it to me.
I left Exchange Hybrid to you this time. Yeah. I'm talking about how you can extend your on-premises environments with cloud capabilities, but not just cloud voicemail as for Exchange 2019, but Azure capabilities, like can you use Azure to host Exchange, or Azure Traffic Manager, how can you use that for Exchange? Azure Active Directory, what can it bring? Hybrid modern authentication is a really big one because it can easily allow, or it allows you to easily enable multi-factor authentication in Exchange on premises, and then helps with problems like password spray attacks and so forth and so on. So that's what my session is about. But how about yours? You've got 2, right?
Yeah, I got 2. I got one on Exchange 2019. So I provided like an introduction to Exchange 2019, to all the features, what you need to consider in order to migrate to Exchange 2019, and obviously the big topic of removing unified messaging from Exchange 2019.
Oh yeah.
And how you handle this in your implementation when you really plan to go to Exchange 2019. And the second one is on hybrid and Exchange Online. Yeah, so I talk about the latest and greatest on Exchange hybrid configuration wizard. I talk about the latest what's happening in Exchange Online, and of course about the hybrid agent.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So that's what I will present. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, these are definitely topics that you want to hear about. So if you're here, come check out some of these sessions. Scott Schnoll is having another session tomorrow. He just finished up his last one today. So as Sigi said, really a lot of interesting sessions. If you're here, come and visit us, come talk to us. If you're not here, remember Thrive Conference. It's a really small but very nice conference, worth attending. We'll follow up on some of the technical topics that we discussed in blog posts and videos over the next few weeks. But thanks for listening to us, and see you later.
Thanks.